How did you guys meet?
Hinge.
Yep. Met on an app.
Okay, Hinge.
And we would have never met if it wasn't for Hinge. So I'm very pro dating apps. I know a lot of people aren't. But we didn't live in the same area. I do not go out. I don't go out to clubs. I don't party.
Sinho_ donated $100. Billy Ray, love you.
Thank you, Sina.
Not too long ago I was dating a lefty feminist, made me feel weak. Watching your clips made me realize it was normal to set boundaries and expectations of her. Now I'm happily single and focused on my mission. Air Force Ranger to be.
Love to hear that. And thank you for your service.
Yo, Sino, thank you very much for your TTS, man.
Based.
Much appreciated. Yeah, Billy has some awesome content, so be sure to check it out.
You were going to talk about the apps.
Oh, the apps. Yeah, we would have never met if it wasn't for Hinge. I don't go out. I don't party. I don't go out to clubs. So we would have never connected. So I think they can be used in the right way.
They need to be used properly.
With intention.
I can see why people don't want to be on them. I was
on.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm gonna forget my thought if I don't say it. I was on dating apps for years and went on, I think, 3 total dates, and all of those dates resulted in my one relationship that I was in for 4 years, another relationship that didn't last too long, only a few months, and now Dan.
Yeah. And for me, the way that I used apps, and I think that this is how I would encourage. I told you I'm in sales as sort of my full-time career alongside as I'm growing the dating business. I really would use dating apps sort of as like, call it like sales pipeline. Like basically you get in, you get a couple of matches.
Party foul over here.
you we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whichever girls, actually like take an interest and respond to you, the best conversations result in numbers. So like I would, over the course of maybe like a week or two, maybe get like 2 or 3 numbers. Then like one of those conversations is just going to kind of die. It's not going to work. Might go on 2 dates. Like, and I rarely took I did take her out to dinner, but I rarely would take girls out to dinner. I'd usually just do coffee, like, hey, let's go for a walk, let's get a coffee, low barrier to entry, I'll pay, that kind of thing. And I would like one of those people more than the other. I would say sorry to the other and try to date the other one. So like, it's not one of these things where I kept going back to the well because I was like, what's next? Like you can shut that off if you want to. And the other thing that I think is kind of cool about the apps, like she said, we wouldn't have really met if we were on the apps. The other thing that's interesting about us, when I say we have 0 shared interests, I mean like 0 shared interests. But our values completely align. And that is, I mean, it took me dating her to realize how much more important that is than like you both wanting to go like do the same thing during the day.
To add to that, like I said, I grew up Protestant, and then I had my little college phase, and then I returned back to the Catholic Church. Actually, I also went to Catholic private school growing up, so yeah, I can really relate to like wanting to like find. I don't know. I struggle with dating apps a lot in general because I find like, especially where I live in New York, especially Brooklyn, a lot of the guys have that facade you're talking about, this like super feminist, cool, chill facade, gonna be super sweet too, whatever. And then like when it comes down to like building a foundation and like actually establishing values, that was never something that I entertained until I started going back to the church and realizing how important it was.
It turns out they just want sex, and once they don't get it for a certain period of time, they start showing their true colors.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep, sounds about
But
right.
I mean, don't you think there's some component of this whole nice guy thing? I mean, certainly there are guys that sort of play nice, but then they get fucking salty when the girl curves them, whatever. I get that, but there is certainly something to be said about, there are women out there who overlook some men who actually are good guys to chase after the bad boys,
100%.
the jerks, the assholes. You often hear women complain about, I didn't feel the vibe with him. I didn't feel, even though every other single metric is this guy, he's perfectly pleasant, he's got his life together, et cetera, and then they go chase after some fucking scumbag, or they're chasing after, whoever it may be, or a guy who is able to elicit the vibe. And whether that sometimes comes down to he's kind of being kind of a dick.
You have to be willing to,
No, you're good.
you have to be willing to sort of, not to quote JP again, you have to risk being offensive in order to stimulate somebody like that. Like, you have to figure out, like when girls talk about the vibe, it really just means that you're communicating in a very indirect way with them, and then you're figuring out when to speak to them directly like a man.
Is
That's
the
all.
vibe butterflies? Is that
No, the
what-
vibe is like when you
vibe?
have a flow. Like girls are very flowy with the way that they talk. It's like it's about
want
a
to
bunch
feel
of different
natural.
things. Yeah, they like guys are more just like, hey, do you want to get a coffee? Yeah, sure. What time? Okay, where? Okay, cool. See you there. Like that's how guys communicate. And there's a right and wrong time for you to speak to a woman that way. Like girls love it when they're just like, hey, like I got us a reservation here. Meet me here at 7 o'clock. Sound good? Cool. But if he talked to you like that all the time, you'd be like, who the hell is this robot? Right? So this whole vibey thing, guys who are too nice, they don't want to say something that they think could potentially be taken the wrong way or could put the girl off. And guys who are experienced with game and with having these conversations, even if they do sense that maybe they put her off, they still have the ability to kind of like tap her on the shoulder and be like, hey, like I was just kidding. Like, and then you can kind of like revitalize it. Or you go to the bathroom, you come back and you're just like, hey, I could tell that you needed a second after that comment. I just wanted to give you that second. Like, and a lot of times they'll laugh. I'll be like, I was just joking with you. Like, that recovery skill is a difficult one to master. That's why dating coaches exist. You have to like teach guys like it's okay to
Yeah, it
take a
requires
risk.
self-awareness.
You can make up for it. You can't be like super gun shy. Otherwise, you're never going to stimulate anybody.
Yeah, you're kind of describing my boyfriend a lot. He's a dickhead, but in the most lovable way.
There you go.
The most
Exhibit A.
lovable
Exhibit A.
dickhead.
Let's get through a couple chats here.